Welcome back. Chapter 23. Thanks to Alejandro, it was easy getting out of the hotel unnoticed. Outside the suite was a pretty young woman with a cleaning cart. Smiling, he told her in Spanish that Elise was the runaway bride everyone was looking for and she needed a disguise. He unnecessarily added that the two of them were eloping. The young woman smiled back, her eyes dreaming with romance, and unlocked a closet that held a maid's uniform. Alejandro motioned for Elise to put it on, then stood outside the door while she changed. When she came out, he frowned. The uniform was for a much shorter woman, so it exposed a lot of her legs. However, as they rode the elevator down, no one so much as looked at either of them. He had on dirty jeans and an old t-shirt and a baseball cap, while she was dressed as a maid. They were anonymous to the world. When they reached the bottom, he led her through the kitchen. A lot of the staff knew she was the missing bride, but they didn't tell. But then Alejandro kept saying that they were in love and she was leaving her heartless gringo ex fiance to live with him in Mexico. Elise didn't speak, pretended she didn't know what was being said, and stayed close to Alejandro as he led her outside. They hurried through the parking lot to his truck, and when she saw it, she couldn't help but laugh. She'd forgotten that it was big and black. Was it the source of her black horse fantasy? Alejandro looked at her in question, silently asking her why she was laughing. Elise waved her hand. It didn't matter. When she got into the truck, the short skirt rolled up so high she may as well have been wearing just her underpants. She started to pick up a shirt that was jammed behind the seat and cover herself, but when Alejandro kept glancing at her bare legs, she didn't. As he started the engine, she realized that she needed to get him on her side. Carmen had lied about her, or rather, she repeated what Kent had said, so Elise wanted to counterbalance that. First, she needed to see if Alejandro was going to keep up his lie about not speaking English. Turning, she looked at him. He was even more beautiful than she remembered. Cut cheekbones, black hair, whiskers that she longed to touch. I'm Elise, she said, then waited for him to introduce himself, but he didn't. He acted as though he didn't know what she'd said. She had to look out the side window for a moment. Maybe their friendship hadn't happened yet, but damn, to flat out lie was a low blow. She took a breath. I know you don't know what I'm saying, but I need to talk to someone. Excuse me. Excuse me. But, excuse me, sorry, but you're it. First of all, I apologize about the welcome to America. I got that from West Side Story. I was really angry at Carmen, and I guess I took it out on you. And I also apologize for running around in my underwear, but I wanted to make your sister angry. She smiled. I think I succeeded. There was no reaction from him. Okay, where do I begin? I only recently found out that your sister and she hesitated, not her husband, not yet, that my fiance and your sister are a couple. I knew Kit wasn't madly, passionately in love with me, but I thought he would be. I've been after him, kind of like a boy band groupie, since I was a kid. I really believe I could make him love me. As Alejandro turned onto the expressway, he glanced at her. For all that he was pretending not to understand, his eyes were skeptical. If the circumstances had been different, she would have exclaimed that he'd understood her. But now she just wanted to talk. However, she did glance in the visor mirror. An advantage of going back in time was that she was 4 years younger than she was yesterday. It wasn't much in age, but there'd been a lifetime of experience in those eyes. Anyway, she said, I was shocked when I found out about your sister in Kent. I guess you know that she's pregnant? When he kept looking straight ahead, she tapped his shoulder with a single finger. He looked at her and she said, Carmen, then pantomimed a big belly. With an expression of disgust, Alejandro nodded. Yeah, he knew. For a moment, Elise wondered what she would have done if she actually known about Carmen before she got married. The way she felt back then, she probably would have married Kit anyway. But she'd always been absolutely sure she could make him love her. Nope, can't make him love you. I planned to run away to the airport, but the limo driver betrayed me. She told him about giving the driver a check and that he must have gone directly to her father. Alejandro said nothing, but the muscle in his jaw was working furiously and his neck was turning darker. Elise smiled. Even if he was lying about the language, his rising anger was making her feel good. It was nice to have someone on her side. The security men scared me, she said. I knew that if I didn't get out of there, I'd end up saying vows to Kent. Then what? He has two lives? Me in one house, Carmen and a baby in another? I knew who'd lose that tug of war. When she looked at him, Alejandro turned just enough that she could see sympathy in his eyes. Good, she thought. At least she was showing a different side to the awful things Carmen had said about her. But Elise didn't want to go too far, didn't want to make Alejandro feel too sorry for her. That could lead to something that she didn't want right now. She planned to spend just a few days with her almost husband's lover's family, then get out. There was no way Carmen would hold out for more than 48 hours before she blabbed to Kent. As Elise looked at Alejandro, she could feel the heat of him. It hadn't happened yet, but she remembered the closeness they'd had before. Laughing together, telling each other about what they did during the day. He told her about the American woman who demanded more than Spanish lessons from him. He said he'd accepted a summer job from his brother on a whim, thinking he'd last about a week. But he liked the physical labor and he liked the US. But I don't like your winters, he said, and they laughed together. Elise reminded herself that none of that had happened, but she had no doubt that if she let it, it would repeat itself. The very last thing she needed now was to attach her life to another man. To, in essence, say, I am yours, do with me what you will. No, what she needed was to find a place to put her own feet. I know that's right. In 2 days, 3's top, she'd go to Warbrook, Maine. She had no connection there, but she needed to con her way into Olivia's future family. Maybe they could help her with legal matters, help her find a job. Alejandro stopped the truck. She hadn't paid attention to where he was driving, so she was surprised that he pulled into a shopping mall parking lot. In front of them was a Nordstrom. He turned off the engine, got out his wallet, pulled out 4 $100 bills and held them out to her. Elisa's heart nearly stopped. She'd gone too far and he was throwing her out. But no, he motioned to her maid's uniform. He wanted her to buy herself some new clothes. She took the money from him because she needed it, but she didn't get out of the truck. I think you're a very nice man, but your sister hasn't exactly been a friend to me. She gave a bit of a laugh at her joke. Oh well, if we were held accountable for our relatives, I'd have to take on the sins of my parents. Sorry, but I'm in a bad state right now. And sorry you got stuck with me. She extended her right hand to him. Thank you. Alejandro took her hand in his. Amigos. Yes, she said, amigos. She got out of the truck. In the store, Elise rushed to buy some jeans and leggings and t-shirts. When she went back outside, he was there waiting for her. And when she smiled at him, he smiled back. For a moment, he was the Alejandro who was her friend. She got into the truck, and when she handed him a leftover $100 bill and change, he looked surprised. In the years of her marriage, she had to learn to economize, but then her husband was supporting 2 families. Alejandro's cell rang. He answered. Yeah, she's with me, he said in Spanish. No, you can't stay with him. You have to come back tonight. He hesitated. I don't give a crap if your lover is upset. You're needed at home. He turned away from Elise. Because I don't want to be alone with her. No, she isn't useless, and I want you to stop saying that. He paused. I have to go back to work. Do you remember what that is? Or are you too busy with him? Elise kept her face turned away so he couldn't see her expression. It looked like Carmen was with Kent and Alejandro didn't want to be left alone with Elise. He hung up the phone, started the truck, and got back on the highway. Minutes later, he pulled into the cracked concrete driveway of a little house on the outskirts of the Long Island neighborhood where Elise had lived with Kent. She assumed the house was rented for the summer. It had that forlorn look of being unloved and neglected. Like me, she thought. Inside it was nearly bare. There was a little living room with beat up old furniture and a kitchen to the side. An old table and chairs was by the back door. There were 2 bedrooms, but she was glad to see that there was also 2 tiny bathrooms. It seemed that Alejandro and his brother had one room, Carmen in the other, but that was to change. Alejandro was staring at her. Oh, she thought, she wasn't supposed to know that she was to take the twin bed in his room. No, 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 she said. I didn't dump one man to get another one. She saw that he had to work not to laugh at something he wasn't supposed to understand. She pointed at his bed, which was neatly made up and had one of his shirts tossed across the foot. Alas, he was wearing another one. He was still staring at her. Elise pointed to the bed. Carmen? He shook his head and pointed towards the other bedroom. Carmen there. For the second time, Elise thought that if she hadn't known he spoke English, his unaccented words gave him away. I get it, she said. Carmen the coward. She's knocked up by my boyfriend, so she's afraid to go to sleep in my presence. Alejandro shrugged, as though he didn't understand what she was saying, but his eyes were sparkling. So how do I tell you what I mean? She pointed at his bed and said, Carmen, then went to the bed on the far side of the room and pointed to herself. She pantomimed sleeping. You know what? Let me see what that word means, because they said it twice. She pantomimed sleeping, then wakened and tiptoed to the other bed, where she put her hands around Carmen's throat and started strangling her. Then she stabbed her. Then she pulled Carmen's body off the bed by her ankle and slammed it on the floor 3 times. When she stopped, she looked up at Alejandro and gave him a sweet smile. Is that why she doesn't want to sleep in the same room as me? That needed no translation. Laughing, he nodded yes. She followed him into the kitchen and watched as he, again, pantomimed, having to return to work. But no matter what he did, she acted as though she had no idea what he meant. After the 4th time, he narrowed his eyes at her and she smiled. With a snort of laughter, he nodded at the dirty dishes in the sink, motioning for her to leave them alone. He opened the refrigerator door to let her know that she could help herself. She pointed to her wrist, where she usually wore a watch, to ask what time he would return. He shrugged that he didn't know. Then he showed her how to work the deadbolt on the front door, but he still didn't leave. Go, she said. I'll be fine. As long as Carmen doesn't show up, I won't murder anyone. As he left, his eyes were twinkling. Elise closed the door, bolted it, then sat down on the old couch. Now what? She thought. Where did she go from here? Yes, she had escaped marriage with Kent, but what had that accomplished? How was she going to do something in just 3 weeks that was so fabulous that it would change her life forever? When she got back to Olivia and Kathy, she wanted to tell them that she'd, what? Had a silly little thing with Alejandro where they pretended to not speak each other's languages? Or was this time in the past to be all about sex? Would she be able to tell Olivia and Kathy that she'd at last had some truly great sex? But they were 4 years in the future. How was she going to fill 4 whole years? Even the Kama Sutra wouldn't take it. Years. For a moment, she blinked back tears of self-pity. out of one mess and into another. She was in a dreary little house that had a dirty kitchen with the breakfast dishes in the sink. Too bad I had to come back as myself, she muttered. Something they don't tell you in college, she thought, is that when you get married, you need a degree in domestic engineering. With what her father paid Kent, they should have had a lot of household help, but they didn't. She hadn't known that the cause was Kent supporting Carmen and their child. All Elise knew was that she'd done most of the work herself. She got up and went into the kitchen. There are always choices, and right now she knew that she could feel sorry for herself, roll in misery, or she could make myself useful, she thought, then set about cleaning up the kitchen. There was an old washing machine inside the closet, and piled on it was a tall stack of filthy, muddy clothes from the men. She started a load. The rest of the house needed dusting and sweeping. She found a broom but no vacuum cleaner. When the first load was done, she saw that there was no dryer. In the weed-infested backyard was a broken turnstile of a clothesline. Kent's mother had insisted that all bed sheets be hung outside, so that's what Elise had to do for her husband. That his mother's two maids hung out her laundry didn't matter, just so Kent's sheets smelled like sunshine. Those thoughts made anger go through Elise. No doubt he was with Carmen right now, whining about how Elise had humiliated him. Poor man, everyone would think such a saint. She picked up a rusty can that was hidden in the scrawny weeds, then another one. Within minutes, she had a pile. When she went back inside, she got some plastic bags, put another load in the washer, then went back outside and hung up the first load. By the time she'd done enough physical labor to calm her anger, the backyard looked a great deal better. She swept the little patio area, pulled some weeds, then did more laundry and hung it out. Boxers, she said out loud as she slipped the clothespin onto the line. Inside, she made herself a sandwich and thought that she should sit down and relax and think about her life, not something she wanted to do. On the end of the kitchen counter was a laptop and a box full of papers. They were receipts for supplies and plants. Each one was marked with the names of the job they'd been brought for. Her parents' name was on 6 bills. It looked like her father had replaced the roses in the south garden. Elise moved the box to the table and began sorting them into piles by jobs. That done, she wondered what Diago's bookkeeping system was like. She glanced at the laptop. A computer was as private as a woman's handbag, but still. She put the computer on the table and opened it. Maybe it had a password and she wouldn't be able to get into it, but it didn't. The background was a photo of Diago's wife and 2 kids. Number 3 hadn't been born yet, and there was a folder for his landscaping business. Elise hesitated for just seconds before she began entering the bills in their proper places. She was tempted to double what her parents owed, but it wasn't her name on the invoice. Once the bills were completed, she set them up to be sent via email to the homeowners. Smiling, feeling that she accomplished a few things, she began looking for groceries to see what she could cook for dinner. Alejandro would be hungry when he returned. The cooking courses she'd taken in an attempt to please Kent were coming in handy. She went online, found a recipe for chili and cornbread, and got busy. And that's the end of chapter 23. Elise don't know what she wants. She don't know what she want to do in life. She is an opportunity to do something different, and it seemed like she's still doing the same thing. I think she need to definitely work on herself and don't worry about hopefully y'all can hear me because I just realized my mic is all the way over there and I didn't attach it to me. How y'all doing? I apologize if y'all didn't hear me. But hopefully you did hear me. Yeah, let me attach it now because there is a definition video. Okay, so, oh yeah, I was saying that she definitely need to focus on herself and not being in no type of relationship. She's given a second chance, to, not technically, but to try to do something different. So let's see how that come about. So like I said, there was 2 words. One word they used like 3 times. I was like, enough is enough. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Let me find out what the definition is. So stay tuned for the definition portion. See you there. Okay, welcome back to the definition portion. The word that they use 3 times in this chapter is spelled Pantomimed. And this is how it is pronounced. Pantomime. Okay, one more time, let me see.
Pantomime.
Pantomimed. A dramatic entertainment. That's a noun. It's a gesture in which performers express meaning through gestures accompanied by music. Okay, what's the verb? Express or represent something by exaggerant. Oh, like a mime. Oh, okay. I'm not going to find it in all. I'm going to just find the first one. Okay, where was it? The first one is, here we go. Okay, anyway, she said, I was shocked when I found out about your sister in Kent. I guess you know that she's pregnant. When he kept looking straight ahead, she tapped his shoulders with a single finger. He looked at her and she said, Carmen, then pantomized her belly. Okay, it makes sense. Okay, so that's an exaggeration. Okay, so let me see. Where's the other word? Okay, so they said pantomime. Oh, you know what? That's the only word because, yeah, that's the only word. Let me double check. Yeah, because in one page it's up here twice. All right, so that's the end of the definition video and the end of the chapter. I shall see you in the next chapter. Bye for now.